Urine is produced by the kidneys, but to be more specific, urine is produced by the urinary tubules in the kidney. Okay, the urinary tubules are the functional unit of the kidney. Thus, the urinary tubules make the kidneys, gives the kidneys its excretory function. Okay, the function of the urinary tubules is why we call the kidney an excretory organ. So, what is this urinary tubule? On your screen is a drawing of a urinary tubule. Okay, it consists of the Bowman's capsule here. Okay, and then it joins into a long tube that elongates, that goes all the way to a collecting duct. All right, now this part here, the cortex and the medulla are parts of the kidney, and this urinary tubule from the upper part of the collecting duct, okay, the distal convoluted tubule, okay, the proximal convoluted tubule are within the cortex. And now the loop of Henle, the lower part where the loop of the turn of the loop of Henle, this part is within the medulla, and some part of the collecting duct too is within the medulla. So what happens? How do we make urine? Well, blood comes from the afferent arteriole. Okay, once blood comes from the afferent arteriole, it gets to this point. Okay, the glomerulus. Okay, the glomerulus is made up of blood vessels, the arterioles that comes into the within the Bowman capsule. Okay, the whole complex, the whole meshwork of blood vessels make up the glomerulus within the Bowman's capsule, and is the afferent arteriole that brings blood to this glomerulus. Okay, once blood gets to the glomerulus, before the blood leaves the glomerulus, it stays a while longer here because there is a high pressure within the glomerulus. Why is there a high pressure within the glomerulus? It's because the afferent arteriole, this afferent arteriole, okay, has a wider lumen, okay, than the efferent, the one that takes blood out of the glomerulus. So once blood gets from the afferent, once it gets here, before the blood can go into this one with the smaller lumen, okay, the blood tends to linger within the glomerulus, thereby creating a high pressure because of the different lumen size of the afferent and the efferent. Okay, so as the blood lingers within the glomerulus, what happens is there is ultrafiltration of the blood from this glomerulus into the Bowman's capsule, and this filtration, what goes into the Bowman's capsule, is now known as the glomerular filtrate. Glomerular filtrate. Now we're going to look at what happens to this filtrate, what is in this filtrate, and how does it concern the process of making urine. What is the use of this filtrate? Okay, so the filtrate, let's say, okay, now the blood is filtered into the Bowman's capsule. What happens is this water, this Bowman's capsule has a meshwork, not meshwork, sorry, a permeable surface, okay, a surface that is permeable to water and small molecules. So, but this surface is not permeable to large molecules like protein. It's not permeable to blood cells. So our red blood cells cannot go into the Bowman's capsule. The protein cannot go into the Bowman's capsule. So it's small molecules and water that can go into the Bowman's capsule. Okay, so when the filtrate gets into the Bowman's capsule, we expect the filtrate to travel the entire length, this entire length of the urinary tubule till it gets to the collecting duct. While the filtrate is traveling within this urinary tubule, some waste can be added into it, okay, to be taken to the collecting duct, where it will further get to the down to the bladder and then be excreted out of the body. Some waste will be added, and then some useful useful molecules that are within the filtrate can also be reabsorbed. Okay, in this part, the proximal convoluted tubule, in the first part of the proximal convoluted tubule, what is normally absorbed here is glucose, some amino acids, okay, bicarbonate, sodium can also be absorbed here, about 65%. Chlorine too can also be absorbed, okay. So apart from glucose, amino acid, we have sodium and chlorine can also be absorbed back here, okay. So it goes absorbed back, okay. So when the molecule, the filtrate keeps going, okay, at this part, the loop of Henle, this place is thinner than this is the descending loop of Henle, and this is the ascending loop of Henle. In the descending loop of Henle is thinner, so what happens is water, H2O, is reabsorbed at this point. At this point, water is reabsorbed into the body. Then it passes from this place in the loop of Henle. In this part of the loop of Henle, the ascending limb, okay, more chlorine can also be absorbed about 20 to 30%. There are no 10 to 20% of sodium can also be absorbed here. So we have sodium, which can be absorbed here. We have potassium. Potassium can be absorbed here. This is K, sorry. For potassium can be absorbed here. Chlorine too, Cl, can also be absorbed at this point. So from there, the filtrate gets to the distal convoluted tubule. Here too, we have some absorption of sodium here and chlorine. Okay, I advise you to bring out a book. If you have a notebook close by, you can quickly jot down the various points where these minerals are being absorbed. Okay, so that's what happens at the distal convoluted tubule. There is absorption of sodium, there is reabsorption of sodium, reabsorption of chlorine. Okay, then the filtrate also continues at this collecting dot. Within this gets to the collecting tubules, or within the collecting dots, there's some reabsorption that goes on here. So we have sodium can also be reabsorbed here, okay, sodium reabsorbed from this place, and then more water too can also be reabsorbed from the collecting duct. Okay, so when the filtrate that gets to this place right now contains waste, okay, so what happens is that some waste are secreted, some urea can also be secreted into this filtrate as it goes through this the entire length of the tubule. The waste that the body does not need, while the filtrate is moving within the tubule, is secreted into the filtrate. Or if there are large more number or high concentration of various various molecules, okay, what happens here is that if there is high concentration of various molecules in the blood, it can also be secreted, not only reabsorbed. Some of these molecules can also be secreted into the filtrate that is passing here, so that there is excretion of the molecules if they are too high in the blood. That process is controlled by various hormones. Okay, if you want to know more about hormones, you should read up on this section, or watch our videos on hormones as we describe them. Okay, some of the hormones that act on this include the vasopressin, the antidiuretic hormones. Okay, these control water reabsorption, they control water excretion, they control excretion of sodium, they control excretion of various molecules. These are controlled by hormones. All right, so the filtrate now gets to the collecting duct. From the collecting duct, now this one here will be coming from another urinary tubule, is also bringing its own. Another urinary tubule is bringing its own filtrate, bringing its own filtrate. Now the whole filtrate gets into the collecting duct, and from there, okay, it trickles into the, goes from here, it trickles into till it gets to the ureter. Then from the ureter, it is taken to the bladder and where it's stored. And then when you need to pass urine, the bladder can be emptied. Okay, thank you.